Hello everyone, and welcome to the first episode of our Banjo Kazooie Nintendo 64 Let's Play. I'm Joe, and I'm super excited to finally get to play through this game completely, and actually finish it for once. I've played this game for what feels like hundreds of hours throughout my life, but just never got around to finishing it myself. I mean, I've played on, like, my dad's account and he's beaten it and took credit for it. Obviously, as a child that I beat it, but realistically, I never have beat all of it by myself. I do not plan on doing a 100% run or any speed runs, obviously. The first few worlds I'll probably get through a bit quicker than the others just because I've played through them a bit more. But we are going to do our best to collect everything, but I'm not going to do any looking anything up to try to find something if I can't find it. If I can't figure it out by looking around for a few minutes, then chances are we're just going to move on. But let's not waste any more time. We got old Banjo finishing his song, and let's get into it. So for our first episode, we're going to have lots of cutscenes to get us started, just to learn about the story of the game. And I don't know, I just don't understand why games don't have fun, quirky, different stories like they used to. I feel like old platformers like this were just so much better back in this era of gaming, particularly on the N64. N64 is probably my favorite console of all time, because it's where a lot of my favorite games are. And being fair, it's also nostalgia affecting that, I'm sure. But we got Grunty here, picking her nose. And I love the little sound effect of the booger landing on whatever. Just completely absurd to add in, but Banjo Kazooie, in the words of some friends I had play it for the first time, is basically a fever dream. And nothing seems real. But either way, we got Grunty here. Thinks she's the prettiest girl in the land, and finds out that Tootie actually is the most beautiful, and her little pot, just no holes barred, lets her know that she is not the most beautiful. Then we got little Tootie running home to get her big brother Banjo. And debating on how this playthrough goes, we're probably going to do a Banjo Tooie as well. I do own both of them on the Nintendo 64. And we got our boy Goggles here. It's a lot of reading, but like I said, we're just getting into the story. We got Banjo just snoozing away here. And our boy Kazooie. And this game was the worst product of bullying that I could imagine. Everything about this game is just ripping on the bird. And while it is really funny, it definitely set a precedence for kids back in the day. Now we have Grunty out of her cave, and poor little Tootie here. You'd think it wouldn't be so hard to kidnap a little bear, but Grunty apparently has to go all 12 rounds before she could wrap Tootie up and get her back to the cave. And Banjo is apparently just sleeping through an earthquake. But we're gonna be able to get some actual gameplay coming here soon. And here we go. We are live. Our boy is here to teach us some tricks of the trade. We are going to skip the tutorial as I do know the controls already. I did just play through the first world of this with a friend less than a week ago. So, was able to get a quick refresher then. Figured it'd save us some time and some reading to just skip through the tutorial. We are still going to get the honeycombs in the overworld before we move on to the first world. But we don't need that extra reading. And then there's Bottles and Kazooie just really not getting along, which is always a little treat to see what they have to be at each other's necks about. But I'm really, really excited to get the chance to play this game again. Especially, like I said, I want to be able to finish it and be able to tell myself that I did it myself. But we got a long way to go, but we're going to have some fun doing it. And while we're finishing up some of our early talking here, just some fun facts about Banjo Kazooie. It was released June 29th of 1998. So the game has been out for quite a while, and for the first time ever, I found out that one of my friends never heard of or played this game before, which absolutely blew my mind because I just felt like everybody who had a Nintendo 64 played this game at some point, let alone like heard of it, especially with it being re-released in like the Rare Replay and on the Xbox 360 and I believe the Xbox One, as well as having, you know, 3 games in the series, whether you want to count nuts and bolts or not. I know many people aren't the biggest fan of that. I haven't played it personally. But yeah, we're just running around here, going back to get all of the honeycombs so we can get our extra life piece. I absolutely always fail at doing this jump, and this playthrough is not going to be anything different. But we do eventually get it. I believe it's our second try here that we're able to pull it through. Normally takes us quite a while, and I typically just end up giving up and get my first honeycomb in the first world. Don't understand why I struggle with it so much, but even then, we were able to see I barely just clipped along to be able to get it. Then just run around collecting here. The game is basically just a big collectathon, and like I said, I believe like the first 2 worlds I know pretty much like the back of my hand, and then after that things are gonna slow down a bit, I'm sure, once we get to like Clanker's Cavern. But not too much going on here. All of the overworld enemies are vegetables, so you're gonna get carrots, onions, and what's the last one? Cauliflower or like a cabbage. Not 100% sure the official ruling on that, but I realize I missed the honeycomb that's up in the tree, so I'm heading back over to grab that. Another thing that I did not miss about this game, and I guess miss about any game back in these days, the swimming mechanics are garbage. And it's just so slow and clunky. Everything's inverted on the y-axis, so down looks up looks down. And I know there's people who still use that out there, as every game asks you whenever you first start if you want to invert the control stick. My father still uses the invert controls, but I just cannot do it. Alright, now that we got our 6 honeycomb pieces, we got our extra piece of health. It's time to head up and maybe head up after we get popped by an onion or 2. But we're going to head into Grunty's cave and really get going with this game. Head into our first world after we get our first Jiggy, and it'd be time to have some fun. Get to meet some fun characters on the way, explore some of these awesome worlds in this game. Some of my favorite being like we won't talk about it till we get there, no spoilers. I know it's been 23 years at this point, but you know, there's apparently still people out there who've never played it. Alright, in we go. Trekking along the bridge. You're going to see some issues with my movement here. That's me getting used to the N64 controller again, especially the stick. I mean, I have the new Switch one, but I just don't have as much issues with that one as I do like a old school one, even though it's the exact same. It also could just be the game I'm playing. Ocarina is pretty much all I play with the 64 controller on the Switch, but we're mixing it up, playing some Banjo. I'm hoping they add this game to the Switch as well in one of their future updates. I know they've only released one game, and it's been out for like 3 months at this point. But I'm really hoping they do decide to add Banjo Kazooie and Banjo Tooie to there, because they're awesome games that more people need to experience, in my opinion. And realistically, who wouldn't want to play Banjo on the Switch? It's like the second most requested game, in my opinion, or at least to me. If I were to ask for 2 games, it would be Ocarina and then Banjo. Alright, now that we got our first Jiggy, we could go fill in the slot. Typically, if you didn't know what was going on in the game, you get these Jiggy pieces. You fill in missing pieces on a basically photo frame, and that'll unlock a world. So we're going to run up to the first photo frame here. It's missing 1 piece, nice and easy. And we go ahead and place the piece in. We got bottles teaching us how to do it. But essentially, you put the piece in, you unlock the world that once you finish all the pieces. Once you unlock the world, then you get to go into the world, and then there's 10 more Jiggies for you to collect. Alright, now that the blind mole is out of our way, we get to go ahead into Mumbo's Mountain, the first world. And we got quite a bit of fun going on here. Alright, now that we're in, we are off to the races. We're gonna go ahead and start the old collectathon off right by picking up one of the Jinjos. So that in every world, there are a few things that are the same in every world. There will always be 5 Jinjos hidden throughout the world. Once you collect all 5 of them, you get a Jiggy. There will always be 100 musical notes. Musical notes are used later on to open doors in Grunty's cave up to her castle. We're going to try to collect 100 if possible, but the chances are we're probably going to miss 1 or 2, and I don't want to spend a half hour trying to figure out where they are on the map. The Jinjos are hidden throughout the map. Some of them are easier than others to find, but in the first world, Mumbo's Mountain, here everything's pretty much really straightforward to get you accustomed to the game. And we do get to meet our favorite character of the game, personally, the Witch Doctor Mumbo. But off we go. We got these bouncing beehives. Once you break them, you get honeycombs. Honeycombs restore health. That's all there really is to them. And working on getting our first Jiggy here, but as you can see, I'm a little impatient, and I was actually having a little bit of a hard time. I didn't have my TV loud enough, so I couldn't hear the actual throw animation. So I ended up turning my TV up while I'm running around and solving that issue. But we got Conga's gold, and that's not the end of Conga for us. We'll see a little bit more of them. But that is Jiggy number 1 for the world. Obviously, we did have that Jiggy before. But technically, you don't have to do any more than find the first jigsaw piece for this one. We go over to see our friend Chimpy. To me, he just reminds me of Diddy Kong, so that's what I refer to him as. But we gotta climb up, get this orange, and go ahead and bring it back over to Diddy Kong. Looking at him now, you know, being 25 years old as opposed to being like 2 to 5 whenever I played this originally, he doesn't look very much like Diddy Kong. But I guess as a child, I could see the argument of, you know, he's a little monkey, whatever. But here we go, having some issues with jumping because jumping's hard. And now we're grabbing some eggs here. And it is time to learn our first of the new moves. So there are moves that you don't have access to at the beginning of the game. Bottles will be somewhere in the world and he will go ahead and teach you these new moves. Our first one is he's going to teach us how to use these eggs. And if you have been reading, you did see that correctly. You are able to shoot the eggs out from behind, and that is exactly what it sounds like. I don't think there's a reason for us to do it this, but I may, or for this level, I may do it just for a little bit of a giggle, but we will see it in action in the next world, which would be probably next episode here at this point. Bottles gave us some extra eggs, and we're already 2 jiggies deep. We're going to try and get our third here nice and quick. And I try to be cheeky and hit him in between the throw, but I learned real quick that that's not how it works. And there he goes. We ended up beating Conga. It only took 3 shells to beat a giant gorilla, but maybe he's sensitive. I'm not one to judge. I hopped down to grab the jiggy, and then I did remember that, oh, there's something up here I need to get. One of them being the Mumbo token. And then I wanted to hit this Grunty pad. And at this moment, I realized I didn't have the ground slam yet. And it took me quite a minute to remember that that's not a default move. But figured it out. We picked up our jiggy and we're off to learn how to do the ground slam, as I did want to hit that button really bad, and it took me quite a bit to figure out that I was a big dum-dum and forgot to learn the move. I don't think there's necessarily an intended route to the game, but if there was, I definitely went the wrong way. Definitely believe you are supposed to go up the stairs right at the beginning, up towards the right, and we just completely bypassed it, skipped all of the learning the moves, and just went straight to Conga. But we found another Bottles Hill, and it's time to time to learn our second move here. And that is going to be the Talon Trot, which we will be using quite a bit throughout this game, and is probably the most important ability in the game. Look at Bottles being a nice guy, giving us a little bit of health after we took an orange to the face. But here we see the Talon Trot helps us get up some slippery slopes. It also makes movement way more fine-tuned, so there's no real sliding or anything like that as there is with Banjo whenever you are walking as Kazooie. And we did find our third Jinjo. So I'm running around trying to figure out which way I want to do things. I decide that I'm going to grab all these musical notes off this cliff, and we did see a little Jinjo down there dancing for us, waving, needing some help. So we will grab him as well, or her. I actually don't know what the Jinjos are, or if they are anything. Bottles popping up to let us know that we've hit 50 notes, which is the requirement for the first note door. But like I said, given the opportunity, we're going to try and get 100 on each level, just for the fact of the matter that we want to experience the whole game, but we're not going to go out of our way, like I said, to search forever, if not necessary. Another little hidden Mumbo token I forgot about earlier. And another thing with the Talon Trot is you are a bit faster than walking as Banjo, so you probably see it quite a bit, and basically used mostly in the form of a sprint, because there's not too many cliffs that we need it for in this. But 5 Jiggies deep, we are halfway through the first world. And I don't really understand the reason I chose to do these things in the order I did. But we're here to learn our final ability, which is the Beak Buster, the ground slam that I forgot to learn at the beginning. I just love the little banter between Bottles and Kazooie. It's just so unnecessary, but so fun to read. Another thing I like to think about in this game is, imagine if they put voice actors into this and just let them loose. It'd be even, I don't think it'd be as charming personally, but it still would be quite goofy. We're just going around, you know, destroying the town, finding our last little Jinjo, and we see the Jiggy pop out. Like I said, you find 5 of them, you do get a Jiggy. And then we did find the Banjo trophy, which does just count as an extra life. And we just got Jiggies galore. Well, in here we did see the one in Mumbo's eye as well. But we're gonna test our aim here and realize we are very, very bad. But we get it together here. And now that we knocked all that down, surprise, surprise, our 8th Jiggy. So once we get the one up in the eye here, there is only one left. And although I know where the Jiggy is, I was having a hard time remembering where the final Mumbo token was. And you'll see me look around. For some reason I swore there was always something behind Mumbo's hut. But once again, mistakes have been made. And there's our boy Mumbo, snoozing. Everyone's always bullying Kazooie. The poor bird doesn't ever catch a break. And like I said, Mumbo is my favorite character in this game. I just think he's so basic, but so cool at the same time. And he doesn't take no crap from no one. He has his price set, and he wants his 5 Mumbo tokens. So as I was talking to him, I remembered where the last Mumbo token was, and you get to see me struggle with some movement here, especially during the Talon Trot, but for whatever reason, I just could not jump this gap. And I don't remember how many tries it took me, but it's even more painful to watch a second time. But here we go, we finally do get it, and we can head back up to Mumbo and see what he has to offer for us for his 5 tokens. And he turned us into an ant. Thank you, Mumbo. It's what we've always wanted. And then I can't find the door. I was just really on the struggle bus this day playing. And yeah, we'll get it together, alright? Just don't worry about it. Just don't worry about it. But I do love the fact that we have our little backpack. I don't even want to know what Kazooie ended up turning into in that backpack, but he's in there somewhere. And right back to failing at jumping. This dude's trying to take my pants off. I think it's a little uncalled for, personally, but... And another failed jump. It's a trend, okay? If I said I was doing it on purpose, I would look like a professional. So let's just go with that one. I'm basically a speedrunner. Going for a world record run here. And trying to be a little extra particular, and then I'm like, oh crap, I forgot there's one more. I thought we were done. But here we got the last of our music notes. And there's really no benefit. Well, I say there's no benefit, but they are required to open note doors. But you do not, by any means, need to collect 100. There's no jiggy locked behind it, nothing like that. But out we go. We found another Banjo Statue, so we're up to 6 lives. I don't think the lives carry over whenever you shut off the system, so it doesn't really matter. We're not going to go out of our way for these extra lives. But I'm going to collect one of the hexagons. And then we're heading out of the world here to get a jiggy that we didn't see drop because I did forget that I needed to still hit the Grunty button because I didn't have my ground pound. And once I get out here and I think about it, I'm like, oh crap, I forgot. And I don't realize I have to go hit that button again. So we're going to run back up to Mumbo. Let's see what he could do to turn us back into a bear. You see, once you leave the world and come back in, all the notes and Jinjos have respawned. If you collect them again, you don't get another Jiki or another 100 notes. It just basically resets the world state. I obviously don't care too much about getting all of these a second time, so we're just gonna beeline it for what we're looking for and get out of here correctly. There's also some janky camera angles in this game, so you'll see me spinning it around quite a bit, trying to fix it, but half the time, the best way to get around it is to just deal with it. It's pretty annoying, but it's definitely not the worst game of its time. At least you get the option for setting the direction. You could also just spam the right trigger and it'll keep it behind Banjo at all times, but it does not work very well in my opinion. So we just kind of deal with it. We try to adjust it whenever I can. But here we go, we can get back up. Maybe. Oh, we didn't. But yeah, we'll go back up, hit the button, go turn back into an ant, go back outside, and get this Jiggy that gets dropped. I believe there's one of these buttons in every world, but I'm not 100% certain. They're not something I typically focus on, and like I said, it's been quite a while since I've played a good chunk of this game. The first 2 worlds I've played through, God, it has to be 100 times. throughout my life at this point, but outside of that, I can't tell you much outside of I know what the worlds are. And that's about it. So, after our first 2 episodes here, I'm sure things are going to slow down a bit. It all seems like we're taking it in a bit quick. For anybody who's not familiar with the game, I promise things will slow down. They'll probably slow down a little bit, even just directly into the next episode, as the first world is by far my most comfortable. Well, head back out, get the last Jiggy, and the good thing about this game is the worlds aren't very long, so they leave us some nice cuts for episodes. So I figure, we'll finish a world up, go to the puzzle piece for the next world, fill that in, and then make it a cut there. That way we come to a nice conclusion, we get a little bit of a teaser to hang over into the next episode. But yeah, we pretty much got everything done in this world. We 100%ed here. And we're going to go ahead and turn back into Banjo and go open up world number 2. Another thing I haven't talked about that as I'm sitting here going through, the soundtrack of this game is so good, and each world I believe has its own music as well as like the ambient music whenever you're in the Yofa world. And I mean, it's no Ocarina of Time, but it's pretty close. I mean, they got some bangers in here for sure. And I'm trying to leave some quiet time for you guys to enjoy just the ambience of the game as opposed to hearing my obnoxious voice nonstop. But here we go, we got Bottles teaching us about the note door. We already went over this a little bit. They're just doors that you need to have X amount of notes collected across all worlds. So, say this one was 150, we would need at least 2 worlds to be able to get to that point. But it's obviously just 50. We collected that in the first world, and we'll go ahead and open this door, and the game will open up quite a bit here for us, and we'll have some different routes per se. We got Bottles topping us off again. I don't know where he gets all this honeycombs from, but sure would like to have them myself. Also, if you're interested in Banjo Kazooie, but it's maybe a little dated or you don't have a good way to get your hands on it, Ukulele is actually made by the same developers, and it has a super similar playstyle that's really fun. And that's the game I plan on getting through at some point. I did start it, but didn't get too deep into it. It's one of those games that are in my never-ending backlog. But we go ahead and get this next puzzle put together. Treasured Trove Cove, and we get to see our entrance to the next world. So, just based on the little bit we know, seems a little bit pirate themed, but we're gonna go ahead and end it here. We got the first world complete, we did all the tutorial, we're gonna go ahead and open up our next world, and we will be tackling that in episode 2. But I do appreciate everyone and their time. If you stuck through for the entire episode, I hope to see you again next week. The game is so much fun. If you have a chance to play it and you haven't previously, give it a go and, give it the honest try. It may end up surprising you. It's just a collectathon. I know there's a million of them out there, but just think the charm of this one and, the atmosphere in general is what makes it stand out. But I'm going to go ahead and wrap it up here. I will see you folks next week, and if you are liking the content so far, go ahead and shoot me a tweet at envision_org or at clonishjoe_ on Twitter. We also have a Discord that everyone's more than welcome to join. I'll put some links down in the description. But feel free to drop a comment, like, subscribe, and I will see you all next week.